And today's topic is taking stock. It's New Year's Eve day, and although it's a kind of, although it's a manufactured opportunity, it's a, a time when really collectively we're looking at creating a new beginning. So before we create a new beginning in the new year, let's really have a look at what this past year has been for us and what a year it's been, right? So before we get started, let's just take a minute or two and get settled in. Let's take a deep breath in through your nose and hold it. Good morning, Irma. And imagine clean, crisp oxygen just flooding your lungs and flowing into your bloodstream and waking up all your cells and your organs and bringing vital life energy. And as you exhale, exhale any negativity, any toxicity, any tension. And now let's take another deep breath in through your nose and hold it. This time, imagine brilliant, bright light just lighting you up from the inside out. All those electrons, all those molecules just electrifying and energizing. And as you exhale, exhale any remaining stress or tension. And now let's just gently press our palms together, really softly. Softly, rub your fingers against your palms and feel the wonderful sensation. Just allow yourself to be present to the magic of the fact that we can feel sensation. It's wild, right? And so bring yourselves present right here, right now. Irma, it's so good to have you here. And everybody else, welcome. We're talking about taking stock. So we get to look at this past year and let's look at what we've learned. Let's look at the lessons learned. Let's look at the ways we've grown. And maybe there are some things that we would like to leave behind as we close this year out. So, as far as I think this is one of the most remarkable years of my memory. And we've had such extraordinary circumstances to contend with throughout this year with politics and with COVID and with hello, good morning, Tammy. Welcome. Great to have you here. Um, uh, with Black Lives Matter, with all kinds of craziness, fires and weather. And hello, Raslin, welcome. It's great to, I'm celebrating the last day of 2021. Of 2020 rather. See, I'm already into the next year. Hello, Angel, welcome. So glad to have you here. And yes, you know, this is a time that we can really ruminate on what this year has been for us. So let's look at like the biggest change that's happened for us. And I don't mean that we were quarantined kind of thing. That's not the change that I'm looking for. I'm looking for the gifts of COVID, for example. For me, I have to say that uh, COVID, actually, it's because of COVID that I do this broadcast. It is when COVID started that I started doing this because I really wanted to be able to connect to people and to support people in challenging times. And so for me, that's a huge gift that COVID gave is this venue. And another huge gift that I experienced from COVID is um, I have a podcast called Sustainability Now that I do with my partner, my business partner, Scott Billy. And when COVID hit, and we all were being isolated, we decided to create a hangout just to be able to get together and support people Thank you so much, Angel. You're so sweet. So we decided to have this hangout night. And then, like the third hangout or fourth hangout in, what happened was that Scott wanted to see a movie that I also wanted to see. And we decided to show it at our hangout night. And that became movie night. And we have done movie night every week since the beginning of COVID. And so that never ever would have happened without COVID. And as a result of movie night, we've sort of started building this community, and people are making connections, sustainability type connections, business connections that are really quite remarkable. So the magic, this is all COVID magic as far as I can tell, that has really supported not only me but supported people that I've been able to connect with, which is such a gift. Irma says awareness of who I am and finally starting to land that I am lovable and I get to learn how to love myself, accept and give love, open to new possibilities. Irma, hallelujah. I am so excited. I have seen such growth in you through this year, and really coming into being present in yourself. It's really, really, really beautiful to see. So I laud you, I congratulate you and celebrate you for really coming um, into your own. It's awesome. So um, Angel said it's made many take off their spiritual masks and speak out their inner voice. I love that, Angel. Yes. Okay. So many of us spiritually oriented people fall prey to feeling like we have to be a certain way. We have to show up in the world with a certain persona. We have to be holy. We have to be pure. We have to be loving all the time. We have, all these have to ideas, and that it is like a spiritual mask that's masking the human that is behind all that stuff, right? And oftentimes there's a disconnect. So when we actually get to connect with ourselves and be authentic, we don't have to play those roles. We don't, maybe we never have to play those roles, but maybe we feel less compelled to play those roles and to give ourselves permission to be authentically who we are. And I am going to be here tomorrow. So for New Year's Day, I'm going to be celebrating New Year's Day with you, and we'll be looking at what to bring into the new year. And right now, what we're looking at is what has transpired in the year that we've experienced. So what other Irma, thank you so much for sharing what the big thing that has happened for you in this past year. I invite everybody else to share what is your gift from 2020? What is the biggest gift that you've received from 2020? Um, I think uh, being in isolation, quote unquote, it's really been interesting to me that this year is the most social year or the most socially connected year of my life. It's kind of an irony, right? Because I have always been kind of COVID has had me come out and connect with people in a way that is pretty much entirely new. Angel says, my biggest gift has been to feel my energy and give. That's awesome. And so that's another point for energy workers and sensitives is the fluctuations of our own energy and to not give beyond our capacity. You know, I don't know about you, but it took me a long time to learn to moderate. And in fact, I'm still learning to moderate my energy. One really big gift. So Rosalind says, working from home allowed me to take time to word that is really something that is pretty universal. I think, I don't know if I'm just being hopeful, but I really believe that uh, this, in terms of the gift of COVID, and I've said this before, but Angel says, yes, the masses had to learn to look within. So to me, truly, I believe it may be COVID that saves the world. And why I say that is because we were rocketing toward destruction, and we were rocketing with the way of thinking, the constant movement, the pace that we were keeping was such that we didn't have the opportunity to stop and look and think and question. And I think that that's a profound gift that COVID has provided for us to be able to slow down, stop, start reprioritizing, to be looking at what is this life that I'm living and what is important, what's really important. And I think that being at home, so many people had the experience of connecting with family, or really getting to value friendships that they maintained at a distance, for instance, in or looking at our lifestyle and the things that we have, and the all the racing and running around and what we do and how we eat. And you know, with the shortages of food supply and toilet paper and all kinds of craziness, we got to look at our patterns of consumption, and hopefully we got to make new choices. I know that I have made a lot of new choices, and um, it's been very, very, very interesting. So Angel says, yeah, this is why we are here in this time. I think that we're here in this time, and I'm wondering if this aligns with what you're thinking, Angel, to create a new paradigm. That this is the time that we really truly get to save the world, because um, it's there's so much. We are at a point, regardless of COVID, we are at a turning point, we are at a pivot point where we still have the opportunity to shift our patterns, to make a difference, to do things differently, to refocus our attentions on policies and behaviors that are more sustainable, you know, that are more responsible in terms of stewardship of our planet and our resources and nature for the future. And the other thing that I think is a huge gift from COVID is that we got to see that we're one human family, that all of us around the world are affected by this. So we got to see truly, truly how connected we are. And so Angel says, inner work transforms. Open our hearts, connect with other hearts, communication, waves of love. We're made ready to receive higher vibrations. I think so. And I understand that there's an alignment of, I think it's Jupiter and Saturn that is in Aquarius. I think I may have messed that up terribly, but anyway, there are new influences too that support the shifts and changes that we're undergoing. Now, I don't think it's going to be smooth sailing. We've got a lot that we're facing, And there is a lot of tragedy in the midst of all of this possibility. But I do believe that we are we are turning the ship, and we're turning the ship through consciousness. So as each of us has taken the time and the energy to look within, to go more deeply into ourselves, recognizing and maybe reassessing our values and our behaviors and our interactions, as we have done that, what's happening is we are raising and impacting the consciousness on the planet. So as each of us becomes more aware and awake, we are elevating the whole vibration. And Angel says, I've woken up the last days now so much, it brought me back to my essence. You know, I think there is so much change going on. Yesterday, my whole body, yesterday and the day before, my body was just vibrating. And it felt like I could have interpreted it as anxiety, but it was like this vibrating in my chest, in my limbs. And Irma, you've described something similar to that. But it I think it's like an up leveling of frequency, because I've been doing a lot of process work with myself. Tammy says, we've learned love and kindness of strangers. People have become friends that we never met in person. I think this is so awesome. I agree with you 1,000%, Tammy. I have a coaching practice, and in my coaching practice, it's all online. And most of the people that are in that coaching practice, despite the fact that we are intimately connected, really profoundly and intimately connected, we've never met physically. It's crazy. And the same thing with the group from Sustainability Now, where the same people keep coming back, and here where we get to talk on a daily basis. It's really quite remarkable. And Angel says, like the story of Jesus, invite people in. And I think that there, for so many of us, there's a deeper appreciation and treasuring of connection. You know, it's a whole different ball game. One of the things that I'm excited to notice about this past year for myself is that I've been listening to myself more, and I hope you have too. We're talking about, going inside. So I've been listening to my need for rest, and I've been respecting that. And I redesigned my life around that, which brings me to just letting you know that next week, I'll be here tomorrow, but next week I am taking the week off. And I believe that they're going to run replays. So there should be something in this slot every morning, but I will not be live here. I'm actually going to be driving to Dallas, Texas, and I'm getting a bird. A friend has a bird that they can't keep and is giving her to me as a gift, and I'm excited to be welcoming her into my family with my cat. And so probably when you see me next, there may be a bird on my shoulder. Who knows? So Angel says, gratitude. I've rested many months. I'm ready to ride. Yeah, I hear you. So for me, I live pretty much at the computer, and in a small but beautiful space. And I'm excited about this ride that I'm going to be taking, just to get out and see the world again, see some different places, maybe meet some different people. So, um, thank you, Tammy. Tammy says she'll miss me next week. Thank you. But uh, like I said, I think they're going to be be doing replays. So thank you, Angel. Very sweet. So let's talk about, let's look a little bit more deeply about what this year was, because we said we looked inside more. So as we looked inside more, what did we find? What did we experience? um, what I experienced is a greater need or desire to serve, to contribute, to connect. That was huge, because it inspired all these other activities. And I also gained a much deeper awareness of racial prejudice in this country, and noticing racial prejudice within myself that was um, was kind of hiding, that I wasn't aware of. And I don't mean hatred. I don't mean that. I mean certain assumptions that I hadn't even realized to challenge, and certain places like that, recognizing institutional racism, for instance. I hadn't really pondered it, and I hadn't really been confronted by it before this year, with Black Lives Matter. And I know a lot of us have gone through the real deep despair and pain of looking at the dark side of our culture, and of ourselves, to the prejudices that we hold. I don't believe that it's possible for anybody in our culture not to have prejudice. And that's, that may or may not be true. That's just my hypothesis. But I think that we are in an environment that reinforces our differences, and also the political strife that we saw this year, and the polarity, the polarizing between Democrats and Republicans, and pro-Trump and anti-Trump, and so much opposition this year, and the COVID um, behaviors, like wearing a mask, not wearing a mask, um, protesting against wearing a mask, looking at issues of freedom, and really checking in on all these really, really deep, important, philosophical, but pragmatic and practical points. And Angel says, see myself and what I need and what holds me back. So if we, looking at what holds us back is a great thing if we utilize it to move forward, right? So if I notice that, well, okay, if I'm thinking about what might hold me back, is sometimes just a lack of energy, and being tired. And what I realize is that if I recognize that that holds me back, then I get to find ways to be more rested, and to take care of myself in a way that I feel energized, and that I get the rest and relaxation that I need. So maybe you can look at something right now that's has held you back, and we can uh, carry an intention into the new year that addresses whatever that issue is. And so I'm going to say this, I'll probably say it again tomorrow too, but I think I had a really awesome conversation with someone who had been one of my clients, and it was a really wonderful conversation. And we were talking about rituals for the new year. And I have a really funny story for you about that. But we were talking about rituals for the new year. And uh, this person was saying, well, a friend had suggested choosing for an intention, because I'm not about creating goals so much as intentions. She said this friend had suggested the idea of choosing a word as the theme for the year. And if it gets outgrown, then you can change it during the year, but to choose a word. And the word that um, we that came to mind, it was actually screaming in my head, I had to share it with her, was self-love. And it was interesting because her response to that was, wow, I hate you, I love you, to me, because we nailed it. It's just like self-love is at the core of all the fundamental issues in that person's life. And so I'm thinking about what word uh, is the theme for my my coming year, and I want to invite you to to think about what word is your intention. What is your intention for the coming year? And you'll probably recognize a good word or a good intention if you have a bit of resistance to it, which this person said she did. It's like there was a big void in that area of self-love. And so uh, beautiful, Irma, love the unknown and myself in it. Beautiful. So maybe if there were one word, what might that word be? Maybe um, change, or adventure, or or welcoming, or I'm not sure um, what that might be. I'm toying with rest, because that's kind of anathema for me. It's like I I I have I mentioned the other day that I have been experiencing challenges sleeping lately, and I know that when I take time to rest, uh, it it enables me to really, really live, you know. And I have all these other things that I'm engaged in that take my excitement. So maybe finding a way to rest. Ooh, Tammy, that's a great one. Confidence, beautiful. I still have my sleep challenges too. Yeah, so I'm maybe I think rest might encompass sleep for me too. So maybe that is a good word. And I'm not sure, maybe self-care. I'm considering that. And Tammy says I have to learn better pain management as well. So, one of the things is that when you're better rested, you feel less pain, as I understand it. I mean, rest is so fundamental, sleep and rest, so fundamental. So I think that that's going to be an intention for this year, because I don't think I I'm not particularly interested in focusing on the doingness. You know what I mean? Because there's a lot that I do, and I do it out of desire to do it. However, yeah, I think prioritizing restfulness and self-care, I'm going to toy with which I'm going to choose. And Dido says, I'm thinking profound safety or security. Beautiful, beautiful. So that's like an inner sense of security and safety. I love that. Yeah, I think that would be really awesome. That's an important one, because if we feel unsafe, It colors everything, every interaction, everything we do. It colors our emotions. It impacts our well-being on a really deep level if we feel unsafe. So Rosalind says, the only thing holding me separate from that which I seek is myself. The one word I would choose to describe goal for next year is resonance. I'll look for things that amplify joy. Rosalind, I love that. And I'm going to encourage you, instead of choosing to call it a goal, entertain and see if it feels any different to think about it as an intention. Because, you know, if it's a goal, goals in my mind anyway, and this may not be the case for you, so try it on, and if it doesn't work, that's fine. But goals are kind of black and white. You either make the goal or don't make the goal. An intention is, oh, I fell off the intention, I get to come back to it, I get to revisit it, I get to recreate it in any moment. So you know, it's a deep heartfelt thing. It's moving from the inside out rather than the outside in. The goal is an outside thing that we're trying to achieve, and an intention is moving from our hearts outward. Thank you, Rosalind. Awesome. That's a distinction that I think is an important distinction, because it moves us from the outside to the inside, you know, so we get to move from the inside out instead of striving for something external. And Irma says, Dido, I love that, which is safety and security. I do too. Brilliant. I might even share that one with you. Irma, that might be brilliant. That might be the thing. That might be the thing. That might be a wonderful word for you. And, you know, I think there's a specialness in being able to think about what is going to forward us, right? And to look into the new year. So instead of making resolutions like I'm going to lose 20 pounds and I'm going to make a bunch of money and I'm going to, you know, like all these kinds of goals, that like I'm going to go to the gym every day and these resolutions, I think that if we ground ourselves more deeply in intention, then there's so much more available to us. So Angel says, I think you're saying in love with who I am. Yes, that's so maybe self-acceptance, self-love. Um, and if that's what your intention is, beautiful. And I think we get to put our intentions in a place in our lives that is visible to us. And so in respect to these awarenesses of what we want to carry, this word that we want to carry into the new year as a foundation intention, what do we notice in the year that we're now closing that has moved us already in that direction? Rather than looking at how we're not where we want to be, let's look at how we have already moved in that direction that has now enabled us to source that word. So for instance, if we're talking about safety, maybe you've come to a place where you actually have recognized how unsafe you felt. And that recognition is huge to be able to then call forth safety, if you follow what I'm saying. So for me, I have taken steps toward this rest and self-care. And one of them is by restructuring my program that my coaching program, so that I take 1 month off and do 3 months on, and 1 month off and 3 months on, so that I can do other things, do other projects, and also recuperate. And maybe I should change the order of that, right? If my intention is for this coming year is self-care and rest, then perhaps I get to recuperate as the primary thing. So, you know, interestingly, what I'm discovering along with you as you're hearing this is that when we set this word for ourselves, this intention for the coming year, then it may help shift us in prioritizing what we do in our lives. And here's the thing about safety. Safety is not a function of externals, okay? Safety is an internal job. And yes, I recognize that so many of us have struggles with finances and fears. And so the I tend to believe that when we shift our internal state, the external state corroborates that internal experience. And I've seen it over and over and over in my own life, where I was very, very concerned about money. I put myself, I wasn't feeling at all safe. I did a bunch of work to come to a place of presence, of being in the conversation that it's all perfect and I'm taken care of. And money would show up out of nowhere. I mean, again and again and again. It was bizarre and wonderful and full of wonder for me. So the fear, like what's the opposite of safety is maybe fear and insecurity. And so when we find ourselves in a place of deeper alignment with the idea, whether it's true or not, okay, but if we believe that we're taken care of, if we truly believe that, then we experience safety, and we will be moving forward in the world from that place rather than from a place of fear. You know, dogs, we know dogs smell fear, right? Animals smell fear, and they will respond differently to us when we indicate fear versus when we don't. And people are the same way, and the universe is the same way. It's like it's not invisible when we're frightened, and it radiates from us, and whatever radiates from us is what is drawing in whatever energies are around. So finding this place of security and safety is probably is such a profound gift to give to yourself. Huge. And the thing is that in order to identify that, you've got to have already been able to be moving forward toward it. So you've already taken steps. So it's not like it's new. Recognize and acknowledge yourself for what you've already achieved in this direction, like how you've already opened to that experience. Okay, so please recognize yourselves for the direction that you are already going, and and the growth that you've already made. So Tammy says it's hard to switch gears to being the priority. Yeah. So there you go. That's where this word as an intention, because if I keep reminding myself of my intention, I get to keep self-correcting. The word that we choose is a word that um, ideally is going to have some resistance, some challenge to us. It's not natural, or it wouldn't be the word we chose, right? It's an intention to grow into that new way of being, or that more expanded way of being, right? So if we feel safe inside, if we are taking care of ourselves, if we are rested, if we are self-loving, um, the the experience of our lives will change, right? And so this is a New Year's gift you get to give yourself, and choose a word that's a meaningful word for your intention, because we can keep using that intention to guide us and help us redirect, just like I redirected myself in that conversation about, oh, I guess the self-care and relaxation gets to come first. Well, that's a radical shift for me, for sure, for sure. And I think I'm not alone in that, especially for healer people. It's always about everybody else, right? And prioritizing yourself and your needs for self-care, that's a big deal, because you feel like you should be, it's more important to give to somebody else, right? Well, we get to realize that that's not the truth, that we have to, we if we don't take care of ourselves, we're not capable of taking care of others or supporting others. I love that Angel says steps of love. That's so beautiful. So this has been really fun. I hope you will take this day to look at least for a few more minutes, to look at the gifts that this year has brought you. And one of the gifts that this year is bringing you is this idea of the word that is the intention for your coming year. And this year has put you in the place to be able to take on that intention. And so there's lots and lots and lots for us all to be grateful for. There is all the time. It's just that this time of year is such it, a collective opportunity to be looking at renewal and regeneration and completion and reflection and all those good things. So Angel says, lots of love to you all. Going to my granddad's grave to light some candles. That's beautiful, Angel. He's my close guide now. That's beautiful. Well, say hi to your grandpa for us, and to all of you. I wish you a wonderful, wonderful, happy New Year's Eve. And like I said, I will be here tomorrow morning if you guys want to join me to ring in the new year together. And that's it for today. So I'm Mira Rubin. This is the Core Connection, and I go live each weekday morning at 9 a.m. Eastern here on the Enlightened World Network Facebook page. And I invite you all to engage with the Enlightened World Network community of, of people that are really, truly spreading light. So lots and lots of love to you. And until next time, happy, happy New Year.